a name that would have at one point gotten just shortened. Like you're just Leeds, Ed Leeds.
Oh yeah.
They're not. You can or make it your middle name. So
You'll never be
that's
a Leedskalnin.
decide the point. Anyway, so as you can hear, Ed is very frail and sick, but the Mosers take him in, and let's hear about that.
The Mosers selflessly took young Ed into their home and nursed him back to health. They listened with respect to his story of leaving Latvia, of his search all over America for the right type of land. "I'll know when I find it," he said. "It's for my sweet 16. He would never explain who she was, but Ed was obviously haunted by a dream or a memory of land and a castle for his sweet 16.
Well, there it is. His sweet 16.
That's disgusting.
Oh, it's sweet. She's older than that now.
Okay. Well, so is he. He's also older by 10 years. I mean, it's fine. Okay, an age difference, that's one thing. But to be that obsessed with a 16-year-old is just a little like, whoa. I get it, though. He had tuberculosis. It makes you love crazy.
He's just a guy in love, and
he's a frail old hermit. Come on, give him a break.
He's not old.
Yeah,
he's not old.
He's a frail young hermit.
Yeah, once I heard that he was all like
7. So if this is 1919, he's
old as fuck. Because we're in 2019.
Well, you know what he sounds like? Honestly,
only like 32 here.
Big,
okay.
Thick kids.
No. He's sweet. So they nurse him back to health. Ed is better now. And now it's time for him to get to work. All right. He's been looking all over for this land. And let's hear Ed getting to work.
As soon as he regained his health, Ed continued searching the backcountry. Crazy Ed and his rusty bike became the butt of many local jokes. Neighbors, watching him prod the ground, began rumors that he was hunting for buried treasure. Ed always rejected the good farmland. When people wondered why, he only smiled.
Oh.
Yeah, no one gets this guy, and they're making fun of him. You guys would be the one going, "Oh, crazy Ed,
no,
a rusty bike."
No,
like, what? Our land isn't good enough for you? It's like, what? How many cows does this guy need? They don't know, because they don't know what he's planning. They don't know what he's trying to do. They don't understand his heart.
No, and they're only thinking of money. They're thinking this guy is looking for buried treasure. What's buried Seminole gold? That doesn't
valid.
I guess
that's
so.
Valid. Yeah.
But they don't realize the real gold he's looking for is in his heart.
Oh, jeez.
Nobody knows. Looking for love. Nobody knows what's going to happen except for him. Literally, like he's about to pull some. It's a random move, but it's very cool. You know, it's very cool.
Yeah, this is sure to win her back.
Well, in time, Ed found what he was looking for when his friend Moser and he were searching lands.
Moser was astounded, for Ed had unerringly located the worst acre in the state. It was all bedrock, right up to the surface. You couldn't plow it, you couldn't farm it. Moser gladly gave a small section to his friend.
Well, that's
fantastic. Nice. That's the kind of friend I want, who only desires the stuff that I don't want. Here you go.
Or he's just getting rid of land he knew he would never sell. I mean, Moser is a nice guy. He picked him up. His family, him and his wife nursed him back to health. They listened to him. They say he's a kind old dude. And now he's not old. I mean, he's like 32 at this point.
We keep saying he's old. Like we just think he was old his whole life, pretty much.
No, he's not. He's not old his whole life. So this is 1931, and he was born in 1887. So he's not that old. Okay, he's like 32. His sweet 16 is probably about 22 at this point.
But spoiler alert, he gets
Everyone, yeah, he will, of course. But now. So he found this is bad land. No one wants this. You plow it. You can't raise animals on it. You can't do anything with it. The bedrock comes up right to the surface. So
you can build love on it.
That's right. You can build this city on rock and roll or love. It's his choice. And there's no rock and roll yet, so it has to be love. So Ed begins his work, and one day, Mr. Moser and his wife, they go head out to see him, and here is what they saw.
They couldn't believe their eyes. Ed had somehow cut a 10-ton block of solid coral right out of the bedrock and hoisted it into the air. As they nervously approached his flimsy tripod and the block which could crush them in an instant, they realized there was something more than craziness in Ed. How did he do it? Ed smiled and said, "It's not difficult, really. The secret is in knowing how." Why did he do it? He smiled again. "Someday, my sweet 16 will come."
Ew.
No, ew. All right. Just because Leonard Nimoy says "will come," it sounds weird.
Yeah, which, I mean, it gave me mixed feelings inside, but when you think about a 16-year-old and, like, because he calls her the sweet 16 no matter what age she is, and that's what I find creepy.
He's even though it's not that long ago, I guess he is a bit stuck in the past, and his heart is broken, but he's a man on a mission. He lifted a 10-ton block out just on like a flimsy tripod. Now, by a tripod, I mean like 3 logs that he had.
I like that you do have to specify because of last time.
Okay, I will.
I was going to say, because I'm like imagining he's harnessing like the secrets of the Egyptian pyramid builders or something. Like,
yeah, exactly, Rob.
That's what it feels like.
That's what a lot of people think, and we're going to hear a lot about that. So word of Ed's weird abilities start to spread, and he's starting to garner a lot of curiosity seekers. So let's hear about that.
Working alone, he cut more blocks. All the locals had to visit and gape at this accomplishment. Ed was friendly, but firm. He would never tell his secret techniques, and he would always stop work when people came near. Trying to catch him at work, the neighbors took to spying. Some people swear they saw the rocks move. Ed could somehow sense their inquiring gaze. He would simply stop working and patiently wait until they gave up trying to discover his secrets.
Okay, wow. I know you guys can't see this, but this video is great. Now, in this recreation, the guy who's playing Ed, he's laying his hands over a huge coral block, and it starts like shaking and floating a little bit. And that crash you heard was two dudes pull up binoculars and start staring at him, and he lets it go, and the block drops, and he just like kind of wipes his hands and just walks off into the woods.
Okay. Now this is getting unbelievable. Now I see why you really brought this topic up, because before, I was like, okay, a lot of people have done these weird passion projects, but I was like, this is pretty astounding, the structure. But what about it is, and then there we go.
He's a fucking wizard.
He won't. Yeah, he obviously has some weird magical way to be putting all this stuff together, because he's certainly not strong enough physically, and unless he has Seminole slaves that we don't know about. But the shaking,
no, it's nothing like that, because people wouldn't leave this guy alone, even when he's putting the thing together. And it's a small community, and they are just becoming obsessed. Like, this guy's not like everybody else. What is he doing out there? Why does he have these big blocks? What is he up to? He seems so nice.
Sounds like a Tom Waits song.
He probably would be. If there's actually some a pretty big name in music wrote a song about him that we'll bring up later. Okay. And it might shock you, especially when you hear the name of the song. So,
okay.
Oh boy, so I can't wait.
Here we're gonna hear from some eyewitnesses that went to Coral Castle in their youth and have some firsthand experience with Ed.
Charles Williams and Bodil Lowe.
Guess I was maybe 6-7 years old. I was born and raised about 300 yards from this place, and I would see Ed quite often at the little country store we had, and he was a very slight man. I don't think he was probably any taller than I am. I'm about 5'6", probably weighed somewhere in the neighborhood of 100 pounds. He always looked frail and sickly, but obviously very strong.
He'd say this is because of the stars and the moon, and he would go on and he would show us his electrical machine. Now he made electricity, and he would jump in his bathtub and show how the water would come to certain levels and how he heated it with the sun. And he'd always divert your question.
As I say, a very gentle, kind person. He was, of course, highly intelligent. Many people thought he was a little cracked because he was smarter, I think, than they were, probably.
His whole life and whole being was very frugal. Just sustained himself, I think, more or less.
And some nights we'd come in the moonlight and sit and walk around in his park. And he would come out and tell us his story if he had a small audience. And he would go along in a very normal sort of a voice, and then we'd ask him why he did it. And they'd say, oh, well, someday my sweet 16 is coming, and he'd look up in the stars, and he would get very ethereal in his voice, and he just loved talking about his sweet 16.
And he always spoke of her as sweet 16. She never grew any older. It's kind of nice.
See?
Yes. You see, it's kind of nice, all right?
No, well,
I
she's
don't
clearly
know.
missing something in her life.
He's deeply in love still. That's what it is.
With a 16-year-old. He won't even say my 16. Sweet 28 and 30.
Why does he have to call her a sweet 16 all the time?
See? Thank you. It's weird.
I don't know, and let's not focus on that. This guy.
Well, he's very focused on it, and we're focusing on him.
Listen, we didn't bring it up. That lady brought it up just now. She's got a problem. We're just
she said how sweet it was. Okay, so look. All right, you guys are gonna feel real bad in a second. I can't wait.
I do already feel bad, honestly.
It's coming.
All right, you wanna make fun of this guy? Here we go. So everything's going fine for Ed as far as constructing what originally called Rockgate Park, which he later named Coral Castle. So everything's going fine for Ed until one fateful night.
There were many rumors about mysterious Ed. One held that he was an eccentric miser and kept a stash of money. Late one evening in the 1930s, a band of toughs waited until he was alone in Coral Castle. Little Ed could never have imagined such a shocking intrusion into his private world. The attack prompted the most extraordinary feat of his life.
So Ed gets beaten up and robbed by toughs.
Oh, I didn't hear the part where they beat him up. I just heard that they snuck onto his property.
The reenactment, they surround him and they kind of slap him, not even hard, but they don't.
It doesn't take much to reel.
What did he do? What was the greatest feat of his life? Did he beat all those guys up?
Oh, what did Ed do? Well, Ed no longer feels safe in his own castle. I mean, he's put a pretty big place together already. He's moved all these stones into, he's got big monoliths. He's got a place to live. He lives at this place. And, people are coming by all the time. And like they said, they thought he was like an old miser, like he had a ton of money, which I don't know why you would think that. Because he's just pulling rocks out of the ground and building amazing things, but he's not, paying for anything. He's going to the store. So, you're saying, what was his main feat? What did Ed do? And he doesn't feel safe in his own castle. Let's see what Ed does.
Coral Castle was originally built in a remote area of Florida. For years, Ed Leedskalnin felt safe in isolation, away from the harsh realities of the cities. He had carved this place with his bare hands as a Shangri-La for his sweet 16. Barely surviving a brutal robbery, however, Ed decided to seek safer ground. When he moved, Ed took more than his toothbrush. He took Coral Castle itself. He hired a local truck owner, and with characteristic secrecy, politely asked the man to step around the corner. The truck would be loaded in just a minute.
Okay, this recreation is great. So this truck driver, he tells him he has to go hide or go around the corner, and when he comes back, one of the giant blocks is just sitting on the back of the guy's truck.
Uh-huh.
He moves the entire he moves this entire place with his truck driver guy like 20-something miles away from where he is.
He's sounding really shady at this point. He's hiding something.
How big is this castle?
Huge. It's big. It's saying castle